The October 23rd, 2025 Des Moines City Council meeting is now called to order. Councilmember Grace Matsui will now lead us in the pledge. Please stand if you're able.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you all for being here. I hope some of you have a sweet tooth. Happy Halloween early, because we don't have a kid. This is the last council meeting before we get to enjoy Halloween. So thanks for taking some time out of your evening to come and join us. Those of you who are online watching on Channel 21 or online, please know that we can't attend to our phones at the dais. So if you do have technical problems, please email cityclerk@desmoineswa.gov. Please let the record show that all council members are present and the council member Nutting will be joining us remotely tonight. Do we have any correspondence not previously received by council?
No other correspondence, Mayor.
All right, thank you so much. So now it's time for comments from the public. So tonight we are also going to have a public hearing. So that's going to be in regard to property tax. So if you have public comments in regard to that issue, we ask that you please hold your comments until the public hearing. We'll have a special segment for public comment at that time so that your comments can be held in the record for that issue. Also, a reminder that it is campaign season, so we won't be able to receive any comments that could be misconstrued as support for any particular candidate tonight. We ask if you do come to the podium that you keep your comments respectful, and when you come up, please state your name and your city of residence. Nobody has signed up. Okay. So we don't have anyone signed up. Is there anyone who has come to tonight not realizing that they needed to sign in order to give public comment? Somebody did sign it? Oh, no worries. Okay, so it looks like we do have, is that you, Bettina? All right, well, go ahead and come on up.
Okay. Good evening, council members and fellow residents. I'm Bettina Carey, and I live in the Marina District. And tonight I want to talk about a word that gets thrown around a lot, and it's called transparency. It's often used to suggest that something is being hidden or that the city government isn't open. But if you've been paying attention in this past year, that simply isn't true. We now have more transparency and communication than ever before. There are second readings, managers' reports, the mayor's minutes, department updates, surveys, and well-prepared slide decks on every major topic. Council members meet frequently with city manager to make sure they're heard. Meetings are open to the public, in person, now on Zoom, live TV, and on YouTube. Our finance director has given us direct links to live financial updates and has explained them to us in plain language multiple times. On top of that, city staff have shown up at the market all summer long, answered questions, and shared information face to face. And it was really great to see everybody, all the staff that participated. The new city manager has improved communication through email, social media, and community updates, and is even working on a new website to make information easier to find, because it is quite difficult at this point. So when people say there's no transparency, I have to ask, what more do you want? The information is out there. It's accessible, but transparency is a two-way street. The city can make information available, but residents have to take the time to read it, to watch it, to attend meetings, to understand what's even being shared. Like any change, it takes time for people to notice progress, but that progress is real. And when we ignore it or continue repeating that nothing's improved, we do a disservice to the people who've worked hard to make things better, and they have. As Finance Director Jeff Friend said during the City Council's October 3rd meeting last year, we are committed to ensuring the city's financial stability and transparency through a wide range of services. We are committed to it, and the way we can improve it is that we're just going to keep doing a better job of transparency. So when we get suggestions like getting long-term debt information out to the public, we're going to listen and act on that. End of quote. That's real accountability and a clear example of transparency in action. You can watch the entire presentation by clicking the link in the comment section that I will send this all to you guys. And being a citizen is more than just living here. It means participating, showing up, asking questions, and doing your part to stay informed. It means working together even when we disagree. Let's make our community better and stronger. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bettina. So is there anyone else who didn't realize they needed to sign up in order to give public comment tonight and would like to comment? All right, thank you. Thank you, Bettina. So next up on the agenda is our regional committee reports. And historically, we have operated on separate committees with committee chairs. We're running a pilot right now until after the first of the year where we have what we call a committee of the whole. So it's because we do not have chair reports. We do have council members that serve out in the region on different committees and tables, so this is an opportunity for them to share, or all of us to share, what we may have been discussing or ways we've been advocating out in the region. So I want to open the dais to anyone who has a report out. Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. I attended the recent Regional Transit Committee advisory thing, and we went over, this is for King County Metro, and we went over the budget dashboard, something I have been nagging about for about, I don't know, 300 years, and it went from being less than optimal, see what I did there, to where it now is truly useful, and everyone uses it, and it's worth noting, I mean, they put a lot of effort into it because a couple of weeks ago, both on Facebook, Nextdoor and stuff, there were several posts about the poor state of some of the bus shelters. And so my next NAG campaign is to add to the dashboard a shelter service schedule. Because the thing is that I use transit all the time, and there are moments where it is unkempt and there will be an unfortunate unhoused person, you know, and so forth. But when you see like 100 posts on social media, it creates the impression that, like, you know, I have to be on this, when in fact I know, because I do ride the thing all the time, that it's on a schedule. And people should be aware of that schedule just so they understand that King County works on this stuff, and maybe it needs to be more often and so on, but just having those numbers, I think, would be helpful for the public to get a sense of, you know, that it's not something that they're unaware of, or they spend significant resources on it, and having these metrics are the way to get to even better service. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Mahoney.
We recently had the skateboard meeting, which is the South Cities, basically the transportation board for the South Cities, on Tuesday. We talked about some of the revenue and state and federal policy issues. Particularly, one of the things that stood out is the revenues, or the monies they need to do all the transportation projects for 25 to 27 is a shortfall of $412 million. And this is take into account all these federal dollars are still in limbo. And from the plans that they have, the longer term from 27 to 29 is $477 million. We also discussed the skateboards version of legislative agenda that'll go before our state legislatures as well. There's a committee formed to discuss that, but we all kind of gave our points. I'm trying to get the ferry on there, just so you know. And so, you know, it was a good discourse and so forth, but the struggle continues to be the uncertainty at the federal level, and then obviously the revenue generated at the state level, and a lot of budget shortfalls and conversations about a lot of projects just aren't going to happen because the state just doesn't have the money. And what those are going to be and the priorities and stuff like that. Obviously, the PSRC Transportation Board is working on the same issue, which I reported on last meeting. But it's trying to get roads done when the costs keep going up and the money doesn't, continues to be a challenge. So continue to represent us the best I can for the city of Des Moines.
Thank you. Any other reports? Okay, so I attended Puget Sound Regional Council's Executive Board today, and we were briefed on several items. One of them was the Puget Sound Clean Air Agency. They gave us a briefing on the Regional Comprehensive Climate Action Plan, and they're looking for input right now from citizens from all over. You can go online. I'll give you that address in a moment if you want to, but I asked today, you know, Puget Sound Regional Council Vision 2050 has a direction for the regional policy to attend to aviation impacts in the air. It's one of the items in there. And so in the briefing, it wasn't mentioned today. So it's to our communities, right, our airport communities, it's one of the deals. We're even installing an air quality monitor, but they didn't mention it in the briefing, so they referred me to their report, their draft report, and it's buried in there. It's in there. But so I would say two things. If you're interested, if any of the public is interested, go online. It's PSCAA, Puget Sound Clean Air Agency, /Conveo.com, KONVEIO.com, and you can give input on their plan. The aviation emissions segment is on page 56, and it's like mentioned once, so that could be part of the input. It's like there's not enough addressing this issue for over 1,300 operations per day and growing quickly. So that's my encouragement, and that's all I had. So we move to the next item, the city manager's report, and turn that over to City Manager Catherine Caffrey.
Thank you, Mayor. We have two items tonight. The first one is in regard to a letter that the City of Burien City Council recently unanimously voted to send to the port. It's in regard to port packages, which are the noise insulation packages that the port offered residents years ago. Des Moines has quite a few of those here in the city. I've estimated a little over 3,500, but I can't find the exact number. But it's still a pretty significant number that are in this community. And so as you probably are aware, there's been a lot of discussion about those packages needing to be repaired or there's some care that is needed to those now that the years have gone by. So the City of Burien recently sent the port a letter pretty strongly, I think I can use the word demanding, really, the port address this outstanding issue. We are bringing it to you to see if you are interested in sending something similar. If so, I think a path forward could be to ask our airport committee to take this up. They did briefly talk about it at the meeting they had last Monday, and they are interested in working on it if that's of your interest. So they would draft something that's sort of, true to Des Moines, not just copy Burien's letter, and then bring it back to the council for consideration if you are interested.
Any questions on that or comments? Councilmember Harris, and then Councilmember Mahoney.
Well, I would certainly support that, and I spoke with Chair Duesenberry afterwards, and he told me it was his understanding that the group had spoken and was in favor of asking the council to simply sign on to it and forward it immediately to the port because of the urgency of the matter. And I just want to put this out there that in my experience, it may just be sheer coincidence, but every improvement in port legislation seems to happen before an election. Could be just a coincidence. And so at last night's candidate forum, all three candidates spoke, yeah, we got to do more about those things, and I sure would appreciate getting that letter to them, before Election Day, if possible. But that was my understanding of what Joe said. So it just seems to me that putting it off for a month. I would, it's good to have them weigh in, but just if they're already in agreement, I think we should move forward now. Thank you.
Sure, that's absolutely an option if you want to go that path.
Okay. Councilmember Mahoney.
Two things. One of the points he made, the election's not going to matter at the port. They're all three running unopposed. I don't think anything that's going to be done is going to be swayed. But I'm going to point back to when we were talking about our legislative agenda. This is the same thing that everybody's done time and time and time and time and time again. They write these letters, they demand this, they demand that. And the truth is simple. There isn't the money to do it. Nobody's going to come up with it. Now, people will point to their budget and the state's budget and so forth, but there's not going to be the money unless we come up with something like I was proposing before in a legislative agenda, and we can persuade cities like Burien and others to support it to get this negative impact transportation fee. There's never going to be the money to address this or the health issue or the quality of life in the cities. So I'm not going to oppose us sending a letter, but it's just another letter. If we don't change the game and do something distinctive, we're never going to get anywhere. So I'm just going to reiterate that as the point I struck before, and it needs to be struck again because, yeah, this is nice, and it's going to be a letter we can send, but history tells us it'll do no good. And I don't mean to be the pessimist. I just think if we can find a way to come up with the money, then we come up with real solutions.
Yeah, so by no means does this letter preclude anything in the legislative agenda, and we'll be bringing you back a draft legislative agenda at the November 6th meeting. So this is really just sort of a, in addition to, if the council chooses to do that.
Before I'm checking, do you have a question, Councilmember Nutty? So before I call on you, Councilmember Harris, could you address, are you aware of any issues of timeliness? Because I thought I heard that it wasn't that hot, but he says
I am not aware of there being something immediately on fire with this. As you know, the port recently did this study where they went and looked back at the port packages. They concluded, there was nothing there, but we had our start meeting last night. It is this circular conversation. So I say that because I am not aware of there being like a due date for something on this. Just it is a definitely recurring and serious issue, is my understanding, unless Councilmember Harrison has something I don't.
Okay. Councilmember Harris, Councilmember Harrison and Councilmember Oxiger.
Thank you. I would just say that, if you go to STNI info, it will tell you that there are 3,844 port packages remaining in Des Moines, and the Port of Seattle has already budgeted. They've had $6 million budgeted for this for 2 years, and they have another $1 million that hopefully will come from the state. My feeling, $6 million is, you can do several hundred systems with that at their scale. And they've been at this almost 2 years, and I would just say that any occasional nudge, the commission can act on any Tuesday and say, okay, let's get going on this. But so far, what they have done is spent almost 2 years preparing a list. And in fact, STNI, we have over 1,300 people who would be on such a list. And just occasionally, electeds, occasionally the commission can drive the bus a little bit on this. And so that would be my suggestion. They have the money, and, they can start spending it any second Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Oxiger.
Thank you. I would just point out that we did receive a letter from the Deputy Mayor of Burien expressing some urgency that we do this sooner rather than later in order to present a strong regional consensus. So she was indicating that she would possibly be here tonight to speak on her own behalf, but it sounds like there is a sense of urgency as not letting this drag out. If that we could sign it tonight,
she would find it helpful. So I just wanted to make note that we have received correspondence from Burien urging immediate action. So not that we have to listen to Burien, but it's there.
So any other comments? So it looks like so 3 questions. Do we want to move forward with it? The next question would be, if we do, then how? Immediately or not? So I guess that's 2 questions. So is there a general nod? I'm going to say if you're not in favor of a letter, raise your hand. You're not in favor of one?
I'm sorry, I highlight
That's all right. Okay. If you're not in favor of a letter, raise your hand. Okay, so we are in favor of the letter. Those who would like to sign on to the Burien letter and let it go forward, quickly, please raise your hand. Okay, 6-0. So it looks like that's what we'd like. So you guys will take care of that.
Yep, so I'll draft a letter that says we're doing it in concert with Burien. It'll use really the same language, and we will send it in.
6-0.
Point of
Yep.
order,
Councilmember Nutting did raise his hand, so the vote is 6-0. Thank you for, excuse me, 6-1. 6-1. Those opposed, I didn't, thank you. That was, Councilmember Honey was opposed. Motion passes 6-1. Thank you for the help on that. Okay, so you take care of that.
I'm clear on that one. And then
All right.
the second item I wanted to just really share, and I know I recently provided you all with some information, but I want to do it in this setting too, is there's been so much discussion, obviously, about city's finances and what are we doing to really ensure we're collecting. And then I was at a candidate forum recently and heard kind of some comments and gosh, is the city really taking the square footage tax seriously? And so I want to really address that publicly. So as you all recall, at the end of 2024, the council approved the implementation of a warehouse tax that is based on square footage, but it's really to sort of capture tax revenues from businesses that don't really pay in necessarily through property tax or through sales tax. And so that went into effect at the beginning of the year for warehouses that are greater than 4,000 square feet. And so those businesses will pay either their B&O tax or the square footage tax, whichever is greater. And of those, initially, we identified 24 affected businesses. And so after a lot of outreach and verification, we've found that there's several businesses that really didn't need to be on that list, and we've updated them. But the real reason why I wanted to bring this forward is because at a finance presentation that Jeff gave a couple months ago, we talked pretty openly about the challenges we were having with collections. It's a new tax that can be difficult to get compliance on, and so we addressed some of the efforts we were making. So I want to now kind of give an update on really how much progress we've made on that. So you'll see that when we gave the Q1 report, we had about 43% compliance. We are now up to 91% compliance, and we are really bringing in collections, and amounts that were past due are really coming in. So we have adjusted our budgeted forecast to $515,000 for this year, and we are fairly confident we will hit it. We do expect that next year will go a little smoother now that some of these businesses are aware of these. I do think, though, just to be transparent, what we've learned is that our initial projection at the end of 24 was probably overly rosy, because I think we didn't take into account that B&O tax or square footage tax component. So we are definitely getting real results and then able to adjust our projections, I think, to be more accurate. But I do want to really update everybody that we are really working hard to get compliance, and as you can see, we're making great strides on that. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but otherwise, I just wanted to make you and the public aware of this.
Questions? Councilmember Grace Matsui and then Councilmember Oxgar.
I was just looking at some of the information that was sent to us in advance, and I wanted to check to see if warehouse or outdoor warehouse space that is vacant is truly supposed to be exempt, because it does say that it's owned, occupied, or used, and so things that are just owned that are empty seem to me to be incorporated. So maybe they're paying the B&O rather than the storage.
I can look for. I'm going to ask Jeff if because it's my understanding that those are sometimes like businesses that are circulating out, so there's maybe a new business that's moving in, and there's that transition period.
Just look into that and get back to
Okay. But we will look into that further to confirm it.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Oxiger.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm wondering, since ground has been broken and the Business Park West is going in, do we have any kind of concept as to how much additional revenue will be available when that comes online?
Our initial estimates were about $200,000 a year, but I think what we've learned is our initial estimates were a little high, so maybe 150, somewhere around there. But it should be a substantial amount of money. That's not included in that 515.
Right. Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
I just want to express my appreciation because even if it's not, I heard even 800,000 or whatever, and I'm like, no, but whatever this is, it's like better than zero, and it's really good. And I want to express my appreciation for the presentation a couple of months ago. I just like the port package letter. I think that was very useful because it was just this sort of little nudge. It's going to take a while to get compliance, and you sort of have to factor the same thing with the pet licenses. But that's a good thing, rather than everything being going hard about it. It's just, and then eventually you get there. And I think you took the right approach. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank
Is
you.
that it?
Yep, that's it.
All right. Moving on to the consent agenda. Could the city clerk please read the consent agenda?
Item 1, approval of vouchers. Item 2, approval of minutes. Item 3, 2026 business license fee schedule. Item 4, telecommunications franchise agreement with Forged Fiber 37, LLC, second reading. Item 5, 2026 vehicle purchase. And that concludes the consent agenda, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Do I have a motion? Councilmember Nutting.
Move to approve the consent calendar as read, Mayor.
Do I have a second? Second, Councilmember Mahoney gets that one. Is there an item that a council member wishes to pull? Councilmember Harris.
Item 5.
All right. Any others? Okay, well, we will be now voting on items 1 through 4. All in favor, raise your right hand. And it's unanimous. Thank you much. Councilmember Harris, we'll pass that vehicle purchase to you.
This is actually just a question on the item, and I apologize for, how does this, I thought we were sort of getting into having a fund for replacements and everything, and how does this, am I missing something here, or is this just?
Councilmember Howard, yes, we are working on a vehicle replacement plan in 26. That's on my personal agenda to do. This vehicle is a vehicle. It's a Ford pickup truck. It's a vehicle for our detectives, and it was scheduled to be purchased in 2026. They requested that we purchase it early, and they even went one better. They found one that would meet the mission. And it was a very slightly used, like a couple 100 miles vehicle. So we're getting about $10,000 deduct. So we decided to jump on that to save the money.
Okay. No, I made a joke about it, but I was like, 55, where can a fellow such as myself get in on that? It seems like a really good purchase for if it's, specially equipped for the job.
Our police teach negotiation classes on the weekends. So.
I believe it. Thank you, sir.
So, Councilmember Harris, if you're comfortable, I'm happy to pass the motion to you if you'd like to make it. Otherwise, you can hand it.
I can't see the thing.
All right. Another council member? All right, Councilmember Mahoney, go ahead and take that one.
I move to approve the purchase of a vehicle identified in attachment 1 for the total estimated amount of $55,000 and to authorize the city manager or the city manager's designee to sign the purchase order at the time they are created.
Second.
I'm going to give that to Councilmember Grace Matsui. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Looks like it's unanimous. Motion passes. Thank you so much. Next up, we have a public hearing. So the purpose, this is first reading. The purpose of this item is for the council to consider their annual options with regard to property tax revenue, and this will be our first reading. I will now open the public hearing. We will begin with a staff presentation with our Finance Director, Jeff Friend.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council, members of the public. Jeff Friend, Finance Director. Here to present the 2026 property tax levy that is being proposed. I'll start with the 2025 property tax levy. Every year we do this presentation, and annually we like to emphasize how the property tax bill works for residents of Des Moines. On this slide, we actually have information that comes from an actual property tax bill for a property in Des Moines. The assessed property value, as it shows, is $901,000. And the city of Des Moines is one of many taxing districts that are on a property tax bill. So some folks might think, well, I paid my property tax bill, that all goes to the city. We're not that fortunate. We are one of many. So we rank actually 5th as far as the portion of the property tax bill. In fact, the top districts as far as where property tax funds are going, at least on this bill, is the school district, Washington State Schools, King County, and the fire district. That actually makes up 75% of the pie chart, which appears to the right. And then the city of Des Moines, we get about 8.36% of a property tax bill. And so this taxpayer is paying annually to the city $767. And those are the funds that go to pay for the police, they pay for the Parks and Rec, and all the services provided by the city's general fund. So you can see the little piece of pie over there in the pie chart. That would represent how much of the total bill goes to the city of Des Moines. So that was 2025. What's new for 2026 is the proposed property tax levy amount would be $5,920,297. The proposed levy includes a 1% allowable increase of $57,875. So with property tax, a lot of people think that it's based on the value of their property. It's actually, we collect 1% of whatever we collected the year before. So as long as, inflation is above 1%, we're allowed to do that. If it's not, then we have to actually have another ordinance. But 1% is what they call the lid, or it's capped at that. So the increase from the last levy includes the $57,875. Overall assessed valuation within the city of Des Moines increased by about $291 million to that number. I don't want to have to read that. $6.8 billion, a little bit over that. It's an increase of 4.4%. So property values relate to property tax in the sense of you're paying $1,000. You're paying per $1,000 of assessed value. So it really factors not into the dollar amount you pay, but into the rate you're paying. So you own your property goes up in value, what you pay probably goes up 1%, and then that's how the rate is calculated. The city had an additional $37 million in new construction, adding about $31,000 to the overall property tax base. So the city can increase the levy 1% every year. We also can add an amount for new construction. So when there's a new property, say there's a new building that's made or constructed, that enters into the property tax, and then they use the value of that to add to the levy. And then from then on, it would increase 1%. The proposed tax rate for 2026 is an estimated 86.18 cents. It's an increase of 1.2% from the current levy for 2025, which is about a little over 85 cents per thousand of assessed value. So the total increase from last year's levy would be about $132,451. That's citywide. That's an average of about $12.80 per parcel. In King County, we asked how many parcels pay property tax in the city, and it's about 10,344. History of Des Moines property tax levy. So this is a 10-year graph going back to 2017. You can see in 2017, residents paid about $1.51 per thousand of assessed value. And the last couple of years, it's been close to 85 cents. So last year was about a little over 85 cents, a little over 86 cents in this proposed levy for next year. In 2024, a little over 90 cents. So what has been happening is the values of property have been increasing, but what we collect pretty much stays stable. So that shows why the rates have dropped over time. And these are the suggested motions to forward this to a second reading. If you want to forward it to a second reading, these are the motions on the slides. The motions in the packets are actually to enact the draft ordinance, but these would forward it to a second reading. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you so much. So now it's time for public comment. Did we get anybody to sign up for that? All right. So if you do come to the podium, please keep your comments respectful. State your name and city of origin. Is there anyone here who did not sign up to speak who wishes to speak in regard to this issue? Second call, is there anyone in the room who wishes to, did not sign up to speak and wishes to speak? And third call, is there anyone in the room who did not sign up to speak who wishes to speak? All right. So, council, do you have any questions? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, Jeff, if I can kind of throw this out there and see if I got it. That we keep hearing there's a 1% cap, right, and yet this reference to 1.2% increase.
Correct.
Is that from the additional value of property that was brought online that pushes that up a little bit for us, or how does that work?
Yes, there's three pieces, and the first piece is the 1%. So you have your 1% increase. The second piece is the new construction, as you mentioned. So new properties come online, and they're valued based on their value on the first year, and that's added to the 1%. And then the third piece is referred to as refunds. So if a property tax owner appeals, say, their assessment, and they win, the county makes us whole. So we add that amount. So let's say you appeal and you get $10,000. We would add $10,000 that we didn't collect originally onto our levy. So those would be the three main pieces. So 1.2% is because we got the 1% and then those other pieces.
Thank you. That makes it a lot clearer. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Harris.
And forgive me if this is a blind side or whatever, but do you happen to know how many people receive a discount? Like seniors, vets, that sort of thing?
And no, I don't. I know.
Okay, I didn't expect it. Thank you so much.
All right, any other questions? No? Okay, I will now, oh, you do? Okay.
What's our projected 2026 rate of inflation?
I wish you'd ask.
Putting in the budget or whatever. I'm just saying to counter, I mean, we're talking about this 1% hold, and I'm wondering the difference of what we're up against.
Well, I would say the CPI for June, and I haven't seen it for September, was 2.7%, and that's coming down. So the prior years has been higher than that. It may go back up. I haven't seen what September's is, so I don't know where it's trending. But
so we're looking like between 2.5% and 3%, probably.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Okay. Tough to obviously difficulty balancing the books when you've got that difference annually, and in some years we've had even more of a difference, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Any other questions? Okay. I will now close the public hearing. Is there a motion? Councilmember Mahoney.
I move to forward draft ordinance number 25-101, determining the amount of funds to be raised by the ad valorem taxes for the year 2026 for general city expenditures to a second reading.
Do I have a
Second.
second? Goes to Councilmember Nutting. Any discussion? Councilmember Harris.
It wasn't really a question, but I want to thank Director Friend for putting this slide on just for me, that it's about $12.80 per taxpayer. And I find the whole contrivance of Washington State property taxes a complete Rube Goldberg. I don't expect anybody to understand it from these presentations, but I think people respond to understanding that it's less than $13 per person, and it does a lot for us. So thank you so much for your indulgence.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion? All right. All in favor, raise your right hand. Looks like it's unanimous, 7-0. Motion passes. Councilmember Mahoney, want to take the second motion?
Sure, be glad to, Mayor. I move to forward draft ordinance number 25-102, authorizing the increase in ad valorem taxes for the year 2026 for the general city expenditures to a second reading.
Second.
Councilmember Nutting for the second. Any discussion? All right. All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Motion passes. Thank you so much. Okay, next up is new business. The first item is Marina Steps. The purpose of this item is to consider bids for the Marina Steps project and give direction to the staff about next steps. Pun intended. So we're going to have Public Works Director Mike Slevin is going to give us a presentation.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Buxton and Council. We're here tonight with the Marina Steps Bid Award. As you're aware, we've been working on trying to get this project out and accomplished for the last several years, and we've given multiple presentations on it. Good news, we put out the bids on September 9th of 2025 this year after going through the value engineering estimates after the previous year's bids came in high. And on October 9th, we opened our bids. The engineer's construction estimate for the project was right at about $10 million. We received 8 responsive bids on a spread between 12.6 for the high and 8.5 for the low. The lowest responsive bidder was Bayshore Construction. I'm going to talk a little bit more about them later, but we have several of their representatives here, including Spencer from who's going to be the project manager. And the amount for the bid was $8.537716. So that was pretty good news. As we presented earlier, we put in 2 deductive alternates within the bid package. One for the spray park, which was at $396,000, and one for the vertical play area, which was for $976,425. So that's what the contractors bid to install those within the $8.5 million. So the $8.5 million is all inclusive. The budget, the value engineering budget we talked about with no deductive alternates was at $8.54 million. That was the actual hard bid number. I know we've been pressured to come up with tight numbers on this project, but it's kind of a unique project a little bit. And so we've had different numbers go back and forth over time. So, but this is what we actually have now. It's never a real number till you get a construction bid, right? So this is what we got. And then we're at 4.35, and that's for permitting, contingency, internal services, construction management, engineer of record, all of those other costs that go into the project. So total project cost from start to finish with this bid number is estimated to be $12.89 million. Our revenues for the project, bond proceeds, of course, which we need to expend, is at $8.11 million. Commerce and stormwater grants, we have 2 Department of Commerce grants for this project, roughly $2,970,000 and $999,000. We have $560,000 in stormwater grants. Something to point out on that is that only $278,000 is for construction. The rest is for ongoing monitoring as part of the stormwater project that is there. We have real estate excise tax from the city at 1.75. We have one-time sales tax for the city at 500,000. And then prior to removing the ARPA from this project last December, we had expended some ARPA money and some other miscellaneous funding early in the project to the tune of about 280, and those were spent previous to like 2023. So total cost of the project for funding would be 12.89, so we balance, which is good news. So Bayshore construction projects, we've looked at what Bayshore's resume is, along with their bid. We had our project construction manager, KPFF, and take a good look at it, and SOMAS to see, make sure all the numbers are right. They look at all 8 bids and compared everything, and we checked through all of the previous projects. Bayshore kind of stood out a little bit also because I picked a picture on the upper left there. You see them working really close to other buildings in a very deep shored environment. We know we've had some concerns from the community about building the stairs so next to the condos. It can be done. It can be done safely. It can be done correctly. And this is kind of an example. I picked this picture to show the council that Bayshore has done it before. Their flat work and finish work is really top notch. Some of the pictures they sent us were really kind of looked really good. Kind of the finishes we would want to see in a signature project with the city. Retaining walls, a lot of retaining walls in this particular contract. I put a picture in the lower right there of doing some retaining wall work, that they've done that before. And then always dealing close to the water, critical area stuff. The bottom left picture is a picture of where they worked on a trail, dealing with the creek and critical areas. And so it's good to know that they have that experience also. So they meet all and check all the boxes for the level of experience we would need to accomplish this project. A quick update, I threw Redondo in here too because there's always a question about it somewhere along it. Redondo's been awarded. November 3rd, we have a ribbon cutting. We're really looking forward to that. The contractor's really getting excited to mow, and they'll be out there pretty soon. And then the marina steps, walking through that, you see we did the value engineering in the spring, cutting out a lot of the, good elements, but perhaps more than we could afford elements out of the project. And then we did a funding update considerations with the council in August. We went out for bid in September, and here we are at bid award. So it's kind of nice to be here with a project that's been condensed and consolidated, and with additional grants we've received and additional funding sources and moving CIPs around, we're able to afford it. So very excited about it, and we're asking today for the council's permission to award the contract. And here's suggested motions. Before we go on to the motions, though, I'd like to really point out people that worked on this really hard. Tommy Owen, our city engineer, has been involved with this for very many years. Alyssa Beaver, project manager. Alyssa, will you stand up real quick so everyone gets it? Works incredibly hard on this project, right? And then we have the representatives from Bayshore here. Spencer, do you want to introduce your team? Or?
This is Craig Crawford, Zach Stroud, John Fulford, Spencer Cave.
All right, so there's our team from Bayshore that's going to be working on the project. And with that, I'm here for questions, and the suggested motions are posted up there. There's 2 pages of them.
Yes. See that. Okay, thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate it. Questions from the council? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah. Mike, the vertical play area that was kind of pulled out, that's more than just a slide, isn't it? Isn't that all the play areas on the...
Well, yes, it is more than just a slide. I've got some additional pictures here. I think I've lost control of this.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So, yeah, so it's an entire area there with multiple different playgrounds coming through there, slides and ropes, and so as we get to build it, we'll work through and see what it is. One version I saw had a tunnel, but as we as Place picks out the actual, we have square footages in there. The actual devices have not been chosen yet as part of this, so we'll be picking those out individually as we go through and work through the process.
All right, but ultimately, that's just talking about the place for the kids to play up and down.
Correct.
The side of the steps.
So on the illustration here, it goes from the top on Cliff there all the way down to the spray park.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ottinger and then Councilmember Harris.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. One of the things that I'm curious about is, I believe it was $365,000 was the estimated spray park element in this. Almost all of the cities around us have spray parks. And when you say spray park to any of our people, our residents, that's what they're familiar with, is the surrounding ones. And if you go online, the cost of those parks is anywhere from $1.5 million to $2 million. What is it exactly that we're getting for the $360,000?
Okay. So this is kind of what you're seeing here, Councilmember Ottinger. So it's and it's in the plans. I get the square footages if you want for it, but it's at the end of the play area. We have a spray park. It's not a massive, like, Wild Wave spray park, right? It's a smaller spray park for hot days when the kids are coming out on the beach. They can come through and get, run through the water a little bit. So it's not a giant Wild Waves park, but this is what's in the project right here, and it allows us to also keep the from the designer's standpoint, it allows us also to keep a large enough dry area for the kids, for the parents to be in, as well as the wet, right? So it's kind of a mix. It's a multi-use. It's not a full, Wild Waves, if that's what you're asking, or one of the larger ones.
Well, none of the surrounding spray parks are massive Wild Waves spray parks.
Well, in Tacoma, I built a couple of them, like in Lazanas Park up on the hilltop. It was similar size to this, along with some playground stuff around it. So there are smaller spray parks in other jurisdictions also.
Okay, and then also, this goes hand in hand with the spray park, but also, do we have any cost estimates on what the maintenance of this is going to be?
We do. We've done some analysis on that, and so we're thinking it's going to be around $30,000 to $35,000 a year to maintain the play equipment and the spray park.
And do we have any projection on how much revenue this is going to generate?
We're not charging, so should not generate any. The actual infrastructure will not generate revenue. Where revenue may come from is if you bring more people in, activate space. Do they spend money downtown? Do they spend money at the quarter deck? Do they do other things as they come into town to use it? That's the only revenue generation there would be. There could be some leasing of the space. We've talked about that and programming it, but we have no estimate of that yet.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. I have a couple of fairly mechanical questions. You provide a deductive alternatives for two of the items, but I honestly don't know which of these motions to which it would apply. Would it simply be, to approve motion one just with two deductive alternatives, or?
So what staff's recommendation is from the agenda packet is to proceed with the full, because it's within budget, to proceed with the full without exercising the deductive alternates. So if you wanted to exercise the deductive alternates, it would be, I believe, number 2. Let me go back and double check that. Oops. So that would be right where it's highlighted under 8.5. If you wanted us to do a motion, to exercise one of the deductive alternates, that's the number it would come out of.
Thank you. A couple other real quick. So the $30,000 a year, that's Parks and Rec money, correct? That's
correct. Correct. It would come out of Parks and Rec funds, most likely the maintenance of that with our maintenance crews.
Okay, and let's see here. And assuming it was deducted, just hypothetically, like, this is probably a fool's errand to ask, but what would not be there? In other words, what would it, do you have any sense of what it would not look like?
Yeah, well, I did not bring that slide in because it wasn't what we were recommending, and we could provide you with that slide, Councilmember, but we shared a slide in our analysis earlier in the year that showed what it would look like without when we went through all 4 of the different versions with and without. So we've shared that in the past. I did not put that in this presentation.
You're a lovely human being. I'm just, if you provide me with a deductive alternative, I want to see what it would look like with the absence of the thing. Anyway, that's it for questions. Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Nutting.
You're on mute, sir.
Hear you.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sure can.
All right, let me switch. I'm working with one screen here. I got a couple questions and then a comment. So, the first question is in the bid, it says archaeological and historical salvage. I'm a little confused by that. It's a very minute number, but still. And you can answer the question offline. I'm fine with that with an email or a phone call. Second of all, the picture that was shown was of soldier piles with a shoring wall, and I'm not sure that we're doing that on this project, but I haven't seen a full set of plans yet.
So, Councilmember, we may be using some shoring yet. We haven't seen the means and methods yet from the contractor, but the reason why I showed the picture was to show the close construction access with the earthwork close to the buildings, not as an example of what construction we would be using.
Okay, understood. Thank you very much for that explanation. Second, the final thing is that we may not have. It's a question. Do we have numbers on the estimated development that may happen in the marina due to this project?
I do not have those numbers, Councilmember. What the additional expansion would be in the future we have not, to my knowledge, taken a look at what that growth would look like.
But we have looked at. Have we looked at the fact that the development of these stairs would spur development of the marina floor and the few small parcels that would still be left available?
I personally believe they would. I don't know if we've studied that directly. We've looked at it more from the historical documents I've read has been more about trying to connect along with the 223rd corridor and the Cliff Avenue corridor and the stairs, connecting the downtown to the water to bring more people into the downtown and make pedestrian traffic much easier and safer. So whether or not it would have an effect, I believe it would have an effect on the marina parcels as being more valuable, depending upon what the use would be. But I don't know if we've actually studied that yet in any type of a case study, and maybe the marina. I'll ask. No,
We have not.
we have not.
Well, you answered my next couple questions about whether it would bring more people down to the marina and service as a way to our downtown businesses, a safe trek to our downtown businesses from the marina, because there is not one right now. So thank you very much for your comments.
Right. Any other questions? Councilmember Mahoney.
So this is directed to you, Mike, and the city manager. You've been to other cities and you've been familiar with capital projects like this. And he spoke about the potential that it can bring to the marina floor. But I want to see from your experience, what do you think about what would happen in our downtown area as we build this amenity? Do you think it gives incentive for future development in the downtown area?
Well, Councilman Mahoney, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think it's we're coming up on a strategic plan next year that we're going to be working on. And when you look at the different things you do by trying to invigorate, densify, and grow your downtown area, and I have experience with that, infrastructure projects like this are key to help bring developers in, and when you increase density and draw people into your downtown. This is just one of many of the projects, making sure the beach park is here 50 years from now, the connections on Cliff, making Cliff safe, and 223rd, taking a look at a downtown corridor in the future, revitalizing the downtown businesses and bringing people in, higher heights downtown. All of those types of things are where the future will come from. A public entity has the ability to do basically two things, right? One, put in public infrastructure to make the place a draw and to emphasize the beauty and the accessibility of these assets, right? And two is to increase density. That's the two things we can bring to the table. The rest is going to be outside development. And I think that this is a project that leans us in that direction in the future, just like the Bridge of Glass in Tacoma, Tolleson Plaza in Tacoma, the steps at the UW. There's multiple projects in the region where when you piece them together, you create a business-friendly environment, you create a developer-friendly environment that then brings in development. And so I think that it's one project that gets us along that route. And so, yes.
Projects like these can be really powerful, and I think we've talked about that a lot before. But again, we do as the direction of this council, and so vision and timing is really the council's prerogative. And so I don't want to put staff in a position of weighing in on something that really is a council decision about the vision of this community.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I'm going to move into the suggested motions. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I move to direct the administration to bring forward a budget amendment to the 2025-2030 capital improvement plan and the 2025 capital budget to include the amended Marina Steps project as described herein and include such amendment in the next available budget amendment ordinance.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second for Councilmember Mahoney, got that one. All right, any discussion? Councilmember Harris and then Councilmember Oxiger.
As everyone knows, I am really opposed to the Marina Steps project for any number of reasons, not the least of which I think it should have been postponed until the strategic plan. But since it has seemed to be the majority's view to proceed, I will tell you I am really not loving the two deductive alternatives. And I would be willing to support the project en masse if those two were removed. I believe this is simply too complex, and I've always been in favor of connectivity to the marina floor. But if you keep the project as simple as possible, you provide a canvas for doing something better. I'm very skeptical of the plaything and the spray park. I think it's trying to do too many things in too small a footprint. And if you keep it simple, somebody will come along with a better idea, perhaps more aligned to the original sense of commerce and retail and providing, because the whole idea is to energize connectivity up to Marine View Drive. You have to make the entire path up to Marine View Drive, including 223rd, have this kind of focus. And the more I look at it, the more I see it as being like tiny steps. That's the connectivity, and the rest of it just being not doing the job that would drive people into the rest of the city. And by leaving it as simple as possible, we can address that after we do the strategic plan. So that's kind of where I'm at, and thank you.
So, Councilmember Harris, are you making a motion, or you're
Well, that's
stating your
motion
opinion?
2, but I'm just,
Okay.
since that's second on the list, I just wanted to
Say
say
it.
that now, so,
Okay.
and that will basically, affect how I vote on this laundry list of stuff.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Oxiger.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would move to postpone to date certain of January 15th on this, in order to give the new council an opportunity to weigh in, and if there's a second, I would explain why.
Okay, do I have a second? Councilmember Harris for the second. discussion.
Okay. This is a $8.5 million obligation. We have to pay these bonds back. Right now, we are looking at a $2 million deficit in the current budget, and we're also looking at budget deficits throughout or out to 2030. We do not have a strategic plan. We are in the process of trying to develop one. This seems premature, and that it's going to fall on the backs of the new council to have to deal with these matters. This seems like an unreasonable hobbling of their efforts to be able to address these matters. And so I think it is, contingent upon us that we need to give the new council an opportunity to address that. Thank you.
All right. Council, as we move through these, just want to bring this up. I should have started with this. We have 7 motions here and a lot of passionate opinions. As we move through this segment, I do want to hold a little tightly to our time limits for our comments, and 2 times each, max, without a vote. So thank you for your presentation, and we'll keep moving forward. Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, thank you. But there was something that Mr. Slevin said that has struck me a long time, and that you do have to have this continuous vision over time. I mean, councils come and go, and you disagree on stuff, but you have to have this overall kind of a thing. I support Councilmember Oxiger's notion because I firmly believe that the next council would support some kind of really good connectivity. I believe there is a will to move this kind of project forward. I just think we can't come to an agreement on what that looks like. But if you can trust that the next council will carry forward that mission, I think that would be great to have something that has the input and just this continuity of agreement along the line, rather than this just back and forth that we've had, this binary kind of a thing. It really has been disturbing to me. A project this meaningful should be something where there is a baseline of agreement across governments. I mean, what I've seen with good projects in other cities is that people disagree on the details. But overall, it's not like you just jam through this thing and then, oh my God, that's what's going on at the federal government right now, by the way. And I'm just, I do believe there is an agreement that can be had next year that will further a better version of this. And
thank you.
That's it.
All right, Councilmember Mahoney.
We've gone through the process of planning the marina at least 4 times over the last 40 years. And stall tactics like this shelved it. And what do we have today? We have nothing. You can say you can bring it to the next council, but I've been working for this for the last 8 years, and even council members before me were. We knew that we needed to get steps in the right direction, to make bold statements, to build amenities that bring development here. I haven't known if you check, but our town still looks like 1962 in a lot of places. This is an act we can do. It involves, it's something that brings it something for everybody. It's the safe way down. It's places for kids. It's a gathering point. I'm at the marina every day, multiple times sometimes. And I tell you, the diversity and the families and everybody we see on a hot day, a day like today, a rainy day, they're down there. And this is for all of them. It's for all the residents that are going to come and enjoy it, and the people that come to the community and spend their dollars here. And for those that might be interested in investment and development, it's there. Delaying things is a tactic that just has got us nowhere. I'm not going to support any kind of delay because it's not something we've been doing that just happened yesterday. We've been talking about this for years. It's been on the dais multiple times, and it's the same arguments. There's the efforts to delay and do what other councils have done in the past and shift it to the future and nothing gets done. Or there's break the cycle and do it. This is a great piece of community gathering point. This is our town center, is the marina. And by doing this, we are making a change that will directly impact the city, not only as soon as it's done, but for years and decades to come. And I guarantee you, people will come. I go to other places that have done it. I've been down to the downtown Seattle area. I've been down to Tacoma, where on the Ruston Way and so forth. And the way it brings the community and gives a healthy place for families and community members to be, and the potential, and I've seen the other business and development go around it. That's what's going to happen here. So there's no way I'm going to support any kind of delay.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz?
Yeah, I want to kind of speak a little bit about the delay, but about some of the arguments that are being made for it. This project is paid for primarily out of bonds. The bonds are to be repaid through our capital revenue streams that cannot be spent on the general fund. It is the general fund that's looking at a deficit. It is not the capital funds that will ultimately pay for this. So the chance of the Des Moines taxpayers being put on the hook for this, frankly, is either a tactic or a misunderstanding of how our budget works. And I'm going to assume it's the first, not the second. So the idea also that if we don't spend these funds, we will essentially get arbitrage fees in the neighborhood of a couple $100,000. I haven't heard a firm estimate of it, but generally around there. So it will cost us money not to commit these funds at this point, which would be a huge waste of, again, the funds that we have. And those arbitrage fees, I think, may come out of the general fund, because it is the cost of borrowing the money that then we have to do without getting it properly committed in time. So it makes no fiscal sense not to proceed at this point. I understand people don't like the project up here, and we've been going through this process back and forth. But it's been worked since 2019 is the time that I remember it first kind of came up, and we did dots. What did we want it to look like? We've had several public presentations. We've had community engagement on all of this. We really have done a lot to put this out there and to get public comment and public input on this project. The vast majority of people that I talk to are in support of this, and a lot of people that I've talked to recently think it's just a great idea to have somewhere where they can take the kids. And this project does two things. It creates the connectivity because you can go up the steps or up the zigzags, but on the side of the zigzags, there's a place for the kids. Right now, our marina is not particularly family friendly, and particularly this part of the marina where we want everybody to kind of see the jewel that we have. And I think that's important. I think it needs to be a marina for everybody in Des Moines. And that's what this project truly is. And that's why I think we should go forward with this project at this time, and I will support moving forward, and I would oppose putting this over.
Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you. I thank you for your presentation. I very much like to meet the representatives from the Bay Shore Construction to come here and tell us a little bit about themselves and to hear from you about this project. I understand that this has been actually something that has divided not only the council but the community, because I feel that many, many people who I have spoken to have overwhelmingly said it's not very popular. And to them, it is an enormous expenditure for something that does not generate revenue or add direct dollars into our city budget. There are indirect hopes, aspirations that there will be speculative ideas of more development and more density when we haven't increased any sort of zoning or density in the downtown in order to make that happen yet. So that might be something that a future council can take up. I do think that we are failing to listen to folks who are telling us that they disagree. The council is here to try and represent all residents and to balance how many folks agree, how many folks disagree, and to say which one is the most represented, which one is the most fiscally responsible. I don't think anyone at the dais thinks that we can just repurpose the money for another reason. We know how capital budgets work here. That's not the issue that's at hand. The issue at hand, spoken to at this amendment, is whether or not this decision should be made on October 23rd, when we might have 3 or 2 or more new council members next year, and if folks who are at the very, very end, 6 weeks of their term, should be making this decision. I don't believe that's reasonable, and I think that it should be forwarded to the next council with the coincidence of the strategic plan and some of the new studies and economic development activities that are going on could better inform a $12 million project. And so I will be supporting this amendment, and I hope others will join us.
Supporting which amendment?
Thank you. Thank you for the correction.
Okay. I saw a couple other hands. Okay, here, Councilmember Ox, here for your second time.
Yes, the Councilmember Harris made the point that, we may be able to come up with some acceptable alternative with the new council on this. But I think the critical point here is that we need to come up with money. And when you're in a situation as we are, where revenue is a definite problem, the admonishment to measure twice, cut once is never more important than it is here. We've had the comments that, we have not done the return on investment type studies. We don't know what this is going to do, and we also do not have a strategic plan at this point. I've characterized this before, and I think it's still apropos, is we're putting in the landscaping before we build the building. Part of it, we've got to find some way to use the marina to be a better economic development driver. And we just have not we've not put in the due diligence as far as figuring out whether this project will actually produce revenue. Whether in and of itself it is sufficient to drive what we would like to see development of the Marina District. So I think we're just not there yet. We don't have all of the information that we need to make a sound decision. Thank you.
Right. I'm checking for Councilmember Nutting. Okay. All right. I'll weigh in. First, as to how many people like it or don't, I think that you will hear people in favor of whatever you think if you're the one talking to them. But we did hear some pretty impassioned public comment several weeks ago, including a 9-year-old from the community, and there was an outpouring of support on social media, the ever-accurate temperature reader of the community, right? But there was an outpouring of people that said yes on the playground because of her testimony. About it being an economic driver, and all across the country, placemaking, we've said this before, across the country, placemaking is the way that people create an economic driver in their communities over and over again. If you Google the word, every talking head in economic development across the country will say, this is what you do. Can you ever measure for exactly what it's going to do? No, but they all say to do it. Landscaping versus building, I think we are not landscaping or doing something for the marina here. We are doing something for the entire city. So are we putting landscaping for the building? This is landscaping for the entire city. This is a decoration, calling card, sign, huge flower basket, whatever you want to call it. It says, come play here, come enjoy yourself here. So we're not doing this for the marina, we're doing this for the entire city. And then in regard to end of term decisions, we all sign up to make decisions for 4 years. We get elected to make decisions for 4 years. And I don't think that it would be appropriate for all council members who are ending their term to just quit making decisions. And this is not a one-time decision. This is the very end tip of dozens of decisions. And to flip now would be to say, irresponsibly for me anyway, that I didn't know what I was doing all the time, that I didn't do my homework all the other times when I voted a certain way. So absolutely not. I'm not going to flip my decision tonight. It would be irresponsible to have gone out to the bid and have this company, all of these companies spend the time, everybody spend their time. It would be irresponsible to say at the very end, no, I guess not. So as far as an end of term decision, this is the responsible thing to do. It's just the culmination of 8 years of conversation for me. All right, with that in mind, I think that we've set our piece on that. So I am going to call the vote. The motion was to put this off until January, right? Is that what you said? Or January 15th. And there was a second in discussion. All in favor, raise your right hand. Councilmember Oxker, Councilmember Harris, and Councilmember Grace Matsui. All opposed, raise your hand. Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Mahoney, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself. Motion passes 4-3. Fails, excuse me. Thank you. Motion fails 4-3. Okay. So now we are back to motion 1 that has been read and seconded, and we are still on the discussion for that. I will open. Councilmember Harris.
This is just going to apply to all 7 things to save time. I really agree with Councilmember Oxiger about, because, see, here's the deal. The first presentation was this Clipper thing in 2017, and I can think of at least 7 different versions of this thing. It changes every year. There's been no continuity. Here's my problem. I bent over backwards here. I really, to compromise on this. And there has been absolutely zero compromise on anything since I took this seat, or actually it used to be over there. There's never any compromise on anything. Along the way, there should have been a path to get to something that all 7 of us agree on. I know there is, but we never compromise. We always present this stuff as a binary, like you're trying to delay, which is essentially accusing me of, or anybody who votes against it, of somehow being disingenuous and untruthful. I just told you what I would vote for, and it's like, no, it's all delay. I'm just like, the next council, what I look forward to is a milieu where people say, hey, I'm willing to do this, I'm willing to do that, and it's like, oh, great. And it's accepted as being truthful, and that's how you get to things that people can all agree on. Right now, it's not a question of yes or no, it's a question of the absence of compromise. And it's been that way now for almost 6 years. It's just, that is the thing that is corrosive to government, is the inability to simply flex a little bit. And that's what, you really have to believe that whatever this project is, You have to have a lot of it's arrogant to say that just, it's my way or the highway and you're going to thank me in 10 years. There's something about that just, I don't know, it's not great. You should always find a way to find some kind of thing if you can. And that's it for all 7.
Thank you. Any other discussion or comments? Okay, so we're still on motion number 1. Discussion is ended. I'm going to call the vote. All in favor of motion number 1 as read, raise your right hand. Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Mahoney, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself all opposed. Councilmember Oxiger, Councilmember Harris, and Councilmember Grace Matsui. Motion number 1 passes 4-3. Motion number 2, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I move to approve the Public Works contract with Bayshore Construction, the contractor, for the Marina Steps project in the amount of $8,537,713.64 and authorize a project construction contingency in the amount of $1,375,000 and further authorize the city manager to sign said contract substantially in the form as submitted.
Do I have a second? I'm going to give that one to Councilmember Nutting as a second. Discussion. All right, we'll go to the vote then. All in favor, raise your right hand. Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Mahoney, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself all opposed. Councilmember Oxiger, Councilmember Harris, and Councilmember Grace Matsui. Motion number 2 passes 4-3. Motion number 3, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I move to approve the consultant services contract with SOMAS Incorporated to provide construction, administration, and inspection services for the Marina Steps project in the amount of $924,000 and further authorize the city manager to sign said consultant services contract substantially in the form as submitted.
Second.
Second goes to Councilmember Mahoney. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. Councilmember Nutting, was that you, Councilmember? No. Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Mahoney, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself all opposed. Councilmember Oxiger, Councilmember Harris, and Councilmember Grace Matsui. Motion number 3 passes 4-3. Motion number 4, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I move to approve the 2024-2025 on-call general civil engineering services track assignment 2025-01 with KPFF Incorporated to provide engineer of record services for the Marina Steps project in the amount not to exceed $426,787 and authorize the city manager to sign said contract substantially in the form submitted.
Do I have a second? Councilmember Nutting for the second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Mahoney, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself all opposed. Councilmember Oxiger, Councilmember Harris, and Councilmember Grace Matsui. Motion number 4 passes 4-3. Motion number 5, please. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I move to authorize the acceptance of the 2023-2025 Washington State Department of Commerce direct appropriation in the amount of $970,000 and further authorize the city manager or her designee to sign the state funding agreement when they are available.
Second. Councilmember Mahoney for the second. Discussion. Right, all in favor, raise your right hand. Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Mahoney, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself all opposed. Councilmember Oxiger, Councilmember Harris, and Councilmember Grace Matsui opposed. Motion number 5 passes 4-3. Motion number 6, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I move to approve the acceptance of the 2025-2027 Washington State Department of Commerce direct appropriation in the amount of $999,100 and further authorize the city manager or her designee to sign the state funding agreement when they are available.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Pardon? You want to give it? Okay, I'll give it to Councilmember Nutting for the second on that one. Discussion. All right. All in favor, raise your right hand. Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Mahoney, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself, all opposed. Councilmember Oxiger, Councilmember Harris, and Councilmember Grace Matsui. Motion number 6 passes 4-3. Motion number 7, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I move to authorize the acceptance of the Stormwater Ecology Grant in the amount of $560,407 and further authorize the city manager or her designee to sign the state funding agreement when they are available.
Do I have a second? Second goes to Councilmember Mahoney. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Mahoney, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself, all opposed. Councilmember Oxiger, Councilmember Harris, and Councilmember Grace Matsui. Motion number 7 passes 4-3. All right, thank you very much. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you. All right, that's it. Okay. Enjoy your weekend. I'll give us a second while we clear the room. Well, take a moment. Check under your seats. There are 3 Halloween prizes under the guest seats tonight. Really? Yeah. Wow. I know.
And 2 are in the front row.
I don't know if I can't remember if there might be one in the front row. So if you're the first person to find the one in the front row. Is there 2 in the front row?
Yep.
2 in the front row. Should I give you hints? Getting warmer, Okay, well, we'll try it again. Yeah, this.
Okay. Oh, they're under the seat. I didn't.
Yeah, there we go. Monster Peeps.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We can check those out later. A little bit of entertainment here. Yeah. Okay, next up we have a discussion on utility franchise agreements. The purpose of this item is for the council to consider the renegotiation of some of the city's water and sewer franchise agreements, and a presentation tonight will be Tyler Beakley. Thank you for coming forward, Tyler.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Tyler Beakley, Surface Water and Environmental Engineering Manager. As noted, we're discussing water and sewer franchise agreements tonight, but before we dive in, I just wanted to share a brief update as it relates to my position and franchise agreements in general. We're moving into 2026 and evolving my role to become a liaison to our utility franchise agreements for contract management, customer service, as kind of a one-stop shop. So in the past, and what we are doing currently, is it's kind of distributed across the board through different departments. We're going to work to sort of increase service and consolidate that into my position. So that's hence why I'm here starting the presentation. So jumping in. There we go. So just background on this item. We have 10 franchise agreements, over 10 franchise agreements for use of our right-of-way. This includes garbage service, water, sewer, cable, fiber, and also PSC gas and power. Franchise terms in these agreements are generally in the range of 10 to 20 years. Longer terms are generally disfavored based on continual changes in the law, technologies, or just standard practices that change over time. I'm going to need your click of help. So specifically zooming into water and sewer franchise agreements, we have 5 throughout the city. These agreements generally govern maintenance and planning in the right-of-way in the city for these districts, as well as outlining project collaboration for capital improvement projects, whether it's triggered by the city or triggered by the utility. There's mechanisms for partnership, collaboration, joint projects within these agreements. They also talk about relocating utilities or abandoning procedures, as well as the legal issues of insurance, indemnification requirements, and then it outlines also the tax and the financial sort of obligations of the agreements as well. So before us today, there are potential for renegotiating 3 of the contracts with Southwest Suburban Sewer District, Highland Water District, and Midway Sewer District, all that have expiring contracts in June of 2026. Now, they potentially expire because there is an automatic extension if we do not trigger a renegotiation this December. That would be a 5-year until 2031 of an automatic extension. So there's an opportunity this December to send notice to open these and renegotiate a new contract or a new agreement. So benefits of opening up, especially at my level, is we can evaluate with our franchise partners of what's working, what's not working in these agreements, what potential changes can we make. We've heard from some utility partners the way we calculate our right-of-way permit fees could be modified as they're, one, get into proprietary information of costs and can just be simplified. So that's one avenue we could go with opening these agreements. We can also address new technologies, address legal issues, and incorporate newly developed practices. It also just gives us opportunity to look at uniformity between all the different agreements. And next slide. And then financial considerations.
I'm going to take over here from here.
Passing over to Tim. Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler. Good evening, Council. Tim George, City Attorney. I'm going to take over from Tyler here. Part of the reason we're talking about this is Council tasked the city staff with finding additional revenue opportunities. And this is one of the items that we presented that Council asked us to come back with additional information on. So a tax on a utility can be a significant source of revenue for municipalities. Our current franchise agreements with all 5 of our water sewer utilities waive our ability to impose a utility tax. And instead, they have a 6% franchise payment, which was negotiated with all 5 utilities. We initially instituted that 6% with 3 of the utilities, the 3 utilities at question here in 2016. At the time, that was kind of a novel concept because we weren't legally sure that we could impose a utility tax. So we were able to negotiate that in good faith with the utilities. And that number was a number that was locked in 2016, has been in effect for 10 years. And what I'll show you in a second here is it's starting to get outpaced by some of our surrounding jurisdictions. All right, so these are the utility tax rates that are in the municipal codes for some of our surrounding jurisdictions and some of our comparable jurisdictions in size. So you can see we're down there at the bottom at 6%. Some of these cities do have franchise agreements with individual utilities, which have franchise payments, which might make those lower because if you can negotiate, you wouldn't be subject to the utility tax. These are the taxes that are on the books. Currently, the city of Des Moines is at 0 because we have no utilities that are subject to the utility tax. All 5 of them are franchise payments. So you can see the city is low there. So the question tonight is, does the council want to authorize city staff to alert these 3 utility districts that we would like to renegotiate? If the council does that, we would recommend reinstating the ad hoc franchise committee. This is a long process. It's not something that would be done overnight. It would probably take us, 6 months or maybe more of meetings with the utilities, and we discuss everything that Tyler talked about. This isn't just about the money. This is about, are there options that would actually benefit the utilities? Are there things that they don't like about our franchise agreements that we could offer them? But revenue is a problem here, and this is an opportunity for the city to raise some revenue. And so what we would involve the franchise committee in these negotiations, and then of course any agreement would ultimately need to be approved by the city council, and it would need to be approved by the utility board. So it would ultimately need to be agreement of both parties. And then the question of utility tax, that's kind of a last resort. If we are unable to agree on a franchise payment, the city we could leave that silent. We could remove any sort of franchise payment from a franchise agreement. We could agree on what we can agree on, and at the end of the day, the city council can impose a utility tax at whatever rate the city council would like, as long as we don't waive that ability through a franchise agreement. So we're talking about renegotiating, including the franchise payment as an option. If that's not something that works, the council could always consider a utility tax, but that would be at the end of the road. And so at this point, here is the suggested motion for tonight.
I think I want to make a quick comment before you all dive into discussion. You know, I think anytime we talk about revenue, sometimes it goes without saying, so I want to make sure we are saying it. We absolutely recognize this isn't like dollars that don't exist right now in the community. I mean, these are dollars that our residents and businesses will pay. So that's why I think that really encouraging the council to be involved in providing, you know, a sounding board and some guidance and feedback during negotiation really helps us make sure we're keeping this connected to our residents and the impact on them. Because as you all know, we don't have very many tools that the state law allows us for revenue. This is one, but at the same time, you know, we recognize this impacts the very people we use these dollars to serve. So I just want to make sure we had a comment on that because we absolutely recognize it.
Okay, ready for questions? All right, questions. Councilmember Harris.
Well, first of all, to Tyler, you're going to be the liaison for all the franchisees, like Recology and...
Including Recology. And we've already started shifting some of those responsibilities.
So does that move you up like one level on the pay thing?
It does, but we're not going to talk about that today.
No, I'm just
Councilmember
wanted to
Harris,
know if...
stick to the questions here for the agenda.
That was a legit question.
Well, that's personal.
I asked, do we know how many residents would be affected are in each of the, or can you get that for each of the three franchisees in?
We don't have that number today. We don't have that number today, but that's something that we could get, especially if we were meeting with the utilities.
Have we waived any right to impose a utility tax for any of these franchisees?
For all of them, we have, yes, through the existing franchise agreements.
Okay, so I guess what I'm saying is, so we do not have the option. Are you saying we don't have the option to impose a utility tax?
At the moment, we do not. What we're asking to do is renegotiate the 3 expiring franchise agreements. And if we don't include the waiver in those agreements, then we could impose a utility tax.
At the end of the term, or?
The end of the term, yes, but the end of the term is June of 2026. So we're about 7 months away.
Is there anything preventing us from implementing our own discount system somehow?
That is, since we don't collect the rates, we wouldn't be able to provide a discount, but that's something we can certainly negotiate with the franchisees to include. And they already offer that, but we can get more information, and we could certainly talk to them about what we would like to see in a discount program. That's something we could certainly discuss with them.
Okay, and last but not least, I guess I'm fine with having an ad hoc committee and everything, but should we not consider some kind of, are there any ground rules to this? Like, I just, every time we go through this surprisingly often, and the question of equity comes up, and would we be negotiating for 3 separate agreements, or is the goal to have one equivalent agreement across all 3 that would eventually, coalesce into all 5?
Well, each district has their own board. So, it would depend on whether or not the boards agreed. Previously in 2016, all 3 of them shared an attorney. And so those 3 have very, very similar agreements. So I would imagine, it just depends. It depends on who's on the board. It depends on a lot of.
I'm just asking if that's the goal, is to.
Uniformity is I think is the goal, and it would be helpful, especially for Tyler.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, equity, uniformity in these agreements would make sense.
Yeah.
So again, that depends on the board.
That's my only thing, is basically having 3 separate deals because of whatever people disagree on. And it just, it seems like the fair thing is to have uniform rules for everybody, but, that's just, okay, thank you.
Any other questions at this juncture? Okay. I do have a question. I can't remember. When is there a deadline for the formation of, let's say this passes tonight, is there a deadline for the formation of the ad hoc committee?
No.
Just,
We would, if this were to pass, we would notify the three districts that we would like to renegotiate the agreements. We have until June of 2026 to negotiate. Even if we're not done by then, the franchises would just go to month. So we could wait until January, which would be my recommendation to form the committee.
and the committee would be made up of council members or a combination of staff and council?
The committee would, ultimately it's up to the council, but the recommendation would be it would be 3 council members.
Okay, so probably the decision on that would be next council, January. Yeah, okay, so, all right. I think that's all my questions for now. Moving to the motion, do I have a motion? Councilmember Mahoney.
I move to direct the city manager to notify eligible utility providers of the city's intent to renegotiate existing franchise agreements.
Second.
I'm going to give that to Deputy Mayor Steinmetz. I saw his hand first. Thank you, Councilmember Nutting. All right, open for discussion. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz and then Councilmember Nutting. Councilmember Harris.
You know, I think this is exactly what we asked for. I think this is one of the ways that we can explore new revenue options. I do think that there needs to be some understanding that these are regressive taxes that hurt the poorest the most. But I do think that it is a worthwhile endeavor to open these negotiations and at least try to find a way to come concurrent with our neighboring cities. So I'm very much in favor of this.
Okay, Councilmember Harris?
You know, I'll vote for this if it's the council's will, but I would just say the better policy is to wait until the agreements expire and establish a uniform utility tax, one set of rules, and not keep going back and forth. I understand why the system came up as it is, but ultimately for simplicity, you know, you just want to have one set of rules that are simple and eventually bring all the special purpose districts into that. That is the long-range most equitable thing. Then we can establish our own discount systems and so forth. But whatever. Thank you.
For clarity on the observation by Councilmember Harris, is it possible to wait till they expire so that we can decide on a tax? I'm confused on that.
If we do nothing, the agreements will automatically extend until 2031.
And so that's when you would have the opportunity to establish a tax.
Well, theoretically, yeah. I mean, if we do nothing, we wait till 2031.
Okay.
If we pass this motion, we could theoretically impose a utility tax in 2026 if the council is not satisfied with the negotiation process.
Okay, understood. I just need some clarity after this statement, Councilmember. Thank you. Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you. I appreciate Deputy Mayor Steinmetz's acknowledgement that these types of fees are regressive and they hit folks who are on fixed incomes when a bill goes up, not in proportion to how much they make or how much their home is worth, but just a number that the City Council would like to increase in revenue. I understand that we are very limited in the amount that we can raise when it comes to the property tax. We got a primer on that just earlier in the meeting about how inflation and expenses outpace how much we can raise in terms of the levy, which we are capped at. But we are looking for ways that also do not get passed straight on to a ratepayer in a disproportionate manner and affecting those who really can't see 100% of these franchise agreements or taxes just go directly to all of the utilities, not one of your utility bills, but all of your utility bills. So I will not support this because it is a regressive tax, and I think we should continue to work hard to find more progressive revenue sources. But I understand that the need is there if we want to pay for additional city services. Thank you.
Just a moment, Councilmember Harris. I'm checking if anybody else has their first comment. No? Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Harris.
I just want to say something you've never heard me say before, but I felt very sorry for Dave Kaplan when he was mayor. And I vividly remember the first notion of the utility tax, and man, he took it really a lot of, because the potential was for 16%, and people they were just punishing about that. And the city should have sold it as being, no, you can set it for whatever rate you want, and you can keep it consistent, and so forth. But because that upper limit was so stratospheric, it created this, sense of like the city was going to just put the screws to everyone, when in fact having the central control is simple and could provide more equity. The fact is, I'm sympathetic. The entire utilities tax system is regressive, but if you look at our general fund, we are becoming a fee-for-service model. All the cities are. We are rapidly reaching a point where utility taxes, however you label them, are going to be equivalent to property tax. That ain't changing anytime soon. And somehow we have to find it's gone from like being 70% when I moved here to like one-third, if we're lucky. And we have to accept that reality. I don't know how to get there, but to me, having one agreement over which we control seems fair. The question is, are we trustworthy? What destroyed the utility tax discussion, 12, 13 years ago, was the ongoing lack of trust that Ms. Carey spoke about. I keep hoping that situation has improved so that we can affect the proper policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Okay, Councilmember Oxiger.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm really torn on this from the standpoint that the regressiveness of the taxes is a definite problem. At the same time, we're now being offered, unlike the last item, some flexibility. The new council is going to have to try and come up with something. This is like not the optimum thing you want to have to deal with, having flexibility on, but it's one of the hand we've been dealt. I think that I would urge that the next council take a very, very conscious look at regressive taxes and how much they harm the least affluent in our community. But as far as, we have to have some flexibility because the previous item has boxed us in.
Okay. Well, I have some comments then. I agree. I thank you for all your comments. I do agree it's regressive. It's it's painful to look at our options moving forward. But tonight, if we do pass this motion, it's not a decision on an amount. It's permission to negotiate and come back. So the permission to negotiate includes no fee and no tax. That's the option. But it does open the door for some of these others. If the voice is strong inside of the negotiation with our council members that are on this ad hoc committee, there doesn't have to be an increase. It opens options. It's part of our responsibility to explore all options well, and that's what this does. The guidelines would come for the EBOLSA committee, and for the process would come from the council. The formation of the ad hoc committee would be not an appointment by the mayor, but by voluntary council members willing to step up to the plate, and by council vote on who that is. If we do, in the negotiation, I did appreciate Councilmember Harris's comment about you don't have to go to the highest. You know, we have what we think that we could allow. We could just do this very small incrementally if the members of the committee agree to. So I will be supporting moving this forward. I'm not going to make this part of the motion, but I would recommend, I'm not going to be here, but that at least one council member who votes, if a council member votes no on this, that at least one council member who voted no is on the ad hoc committee. Does that make sense? That somebody who didn't really appreciate this, that voice is included in this ad hoc committee. That's my recommendation. The next council will.
I would second that.
You would, I didn't move it, but could I put that as part of the motion? It's not, it's a voluntary deal, but that's my recommendation. I'm not going to be here, so those are my comments. Do you have a comment, or are you going to make a motion?
I had a question first.
Okay, so I'm done with my comments. Go ahead.
I'm trying to remember, since the last ad hoc committee was, I think, 2016, but is there code language about how that committee is formed, or is it something that the next council decides?
There's not code language. It's just an ad hoc committee is a committee for a specific purpose, and so the council can just decide how they want that to look.
Great, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Oxiger.
So the question would be, this apropos, is the feeling of the membership here that that this council would appoint that committee, or is it something that will be laid over to the new council?
New council.
Thank you.
Okay, any more comments or thoughts before we vote on the motion? All right. Take you to a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Oxiger, Councilmember Harris, Councilmember Mahoney, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself all opposed. Councilmember Grace Matsui opposed, so motion passes 6-1. All right. Thank you, Tyler. Next up is, let's see what we have here. 1, 2, 3. I am wondering if we should take a 5-minute break. I think we have a good healthy handful of items, so I'd like to take a 5-minute break. If you didn't find all of the prizes, look under the seats. There's only 3. Okay, we're going to reconvene. If you could find your seats, please. Thank you very much. Council meeting is now reconvened. We're moving on to item number 3, B&O tax model ordinance, an update and a first reading. The purpose of this item is for council to consider an update to the B&O tax code. And we have our Assistant City Attorney, Matt Hutchins, giving presentation tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Matthew Hutchins, Assistant City Attorney, with the staff presentation on draft ordinance 25-100, an update to the city's business and occupation tax model ordinance. So Washington cities have been authorized by the legislature to levy a tax on people doing business in the city as long as it's within parameters set by the legislature. In the early 2000s, there were some complaints from the business community that the cities were not at all uniform in their taxes, the rates, how they were applied, dates, such things. And they basically they said that the cities not being uniform with each other or with the state was unpredictable and was unfair to the business community. So in 2003, the legislature passed a law essentially saying cities could continue to impose a B&O tax, but it capped the amount cities could impose. But it also required that cities wishing to impose a B&O tax adopt a model ordinance that was promulgated by the Association of Washington Cities. The City of Des Moines did adopt the model ordinance in 2005, and as the model ordinance has been updated over the years, city has made the required changes. So why are we here tonight? In this year's session, the legislature, this is the part that gets kind of technical and boring, but the legislature changed the tax treatment of certain service activities that businesses do. It affects both the state sales tax and the state B&O tax. Basically, there are some services that are direct consumer are considered retail sales tax and treated accordingly, and some that are not. There was a change for some of the ones that had not been treated like retail sales, and so part of the bill changed definitions in the B&O structure, which caused AWC to update the model ordinance, and now we have to make a change by January 1st of next year. So here's a list of the service categories that have been affected: information technology, website development, custom software development, certain security services, temporary staffing, advertising services. So as I said, previously the state had decided these are to be treated as other services that are not retail sales, which put them at a lower B&O tax rate, and they were not subject to the sales tax. The legislature decided that now they are retail sales, and now they are in a higher tax classification for terms of B&O tax, and they are subject to the sales tax. There was sort of a built-in loophole where if you, under the old definitions, some of these services, if you did them electronically, they were what were called digital automated services. So those also had to be broken out, and they are now retail sales. And the legislature provided a few new exclusions for these kind of services when they are provided to healthcare providers. And so these changes need to be incorporated into the city code. So at the state level, because they've moved classification, they are subject to higher B&O taxes, but it doesn't actually have an effect at the city level. Every different classification of business, we tax them all the same. So they're classified differently, but they are going to be paying the same B&O tax for us. Our ordinance does not touch on the sales tax, but I just want to touch on it a little bit. They're now subject to sales tax, which does include the city sales tax, but we don't actually have to do anything about that. Our sales tax code is a lot easier, a lot simpler than the B&O tax. Basically, we just say anything that is taxable by the state is taxable for the city sales tax. And we also have the Department of Revenue collecting those tax and remitting it to the city. And so they will be the ones chasing down anyone who is avoiding the tax. This hopefully will result in some increased sales tax on these newly taxed services. We don't know what that looks like right now. Hopefully Jeff will have some information on that in the future. But this council should also be aware that for city contracts in the future, this may result in increased costs for us, because when we contract for those services before, where we didn't have to pay sales tax on them, now we will be paying the 10.3% sales tax on them. So that concludes my presentation. There is a suggested motion. Are there any questions?
Councilmember Harris?
Are there any additional compliance costs for us? You say that DOR is going to be chasing the money, but I always just have to ask. Paperwork.
There should not be. No.
Thank you.
Nothing material, anyway.
Checking up. So, I have a question. So, to clarify, this is basically about retaining what we already collect. Is that a good summary statement?
Yes. The effect of us not doing anything is we would not be able to impose B&O tax anymore.
So passing this just says we can retain what we're collecting. It's not like raising anything.
Correct.
Okay. Good. That was my only question. All right. Any other questions? All right. Do I have a motion? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I move to pass draft ordinance 25-100 to a second reading on the next regular council meeting agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Mahoney got that one first. Any discussion? All right. All in favor then, raise your right hand. It looks like it's unanimous, passing it forward. Good. Thank you so much, Matt. The next item on the agenda is an MOU between the City of Des Moines and King County Metro. The purpose of this item is for the council to consider an MOU with King County with regard to studies related to our water taxi. I'll pass that to City Manager Catherine Caffrey.
Mayor and Council, this is, as the Mayor said, simply an MOU allowing the city to work with King County Metro as it relates to the work that you're going to consider in the next item. That's in regard to the Department of Commerce grant that the Council accepted last October. I'll go into more of that on the other item, but you can see sort of there on the slide the main items in that grant, what it includes. So basically what this really is allowing us to look at the feasibility, both operationally, cost-wise, ridership, economic impact, does it help underserved communities? Like, it sort of looks at the feasibility of a potential ferry service from a multitude of ways. But this allows us to work with King County on that. And the reason why is because I think the council has made clear both a strong desire for a ferry service here, but also a strong recognition that we do not have the funds for it. And so really King County Metro would most likely be the entity providing this service. This simply allows us to use their expertise and data and share back and forth with them. It does not change who's ultimately responsible for administering the grant, nor does it require any funding between either entity. So the goals of the Commerce Grant, as a refresher, because it's been a while, is really community engagement, some of those analyses I just referenced, and then also looking at secondary transportation options, which means looking at how does ferry service stack up, again, when it comes to cost, operations, ridership, compared to other options like bus service and things like that. So that is also part of this. And so really, yeah, this is just an MOU to allow us to share information. So I think I've highlighted a lot of that, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Is there any piece of this study that is going to look at connecting a ferry with other forms of transportation in order to make it a more systemic approach to transportation?
Like last mile type things?
To an extent, but even more so, more than that, just, once you take the ferry, where do you go versus is there an existing route that could be tapped into? Is there something else that could be done, and what does that look like, and who would do that?
I think it'll really be looking at, does a ferry service here for either commuters or tourism perspective make sense? And by sense, I mean financially, using the metrics that sort of King County Metro uses when they evaluate expanding their routes. And as I said, they'll look at that compared to other modes of transportation. I don't think it's going to, I guess they will somewhat touch upon where are people going when they're using this, because that'll be part of ridership, but I don't think that's really the focus. There is a real emphasis, though, on will underserved communities utilize this mode, because that's a really important metric for King County Metro when they're looking at expanding.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
I just want to make sure this is intentional, and it may be a typo, but one of the slides says a study of secondary transportation options for an electric water taxi, I assume taxi service.
Oh, yeah.
I just, my understanding is the council talked about, I'm not thrilled about it, but the fossil fuel thing, and I just want to make sure. Is it going to focus on electric, or is it going to basically be, any type of vessel, I guess?
Well, it's definitely a typo to say tax. You can definitely tell we're in budget season, so that is my bad. The grant, and I talked about this in the agenda packet memo, but the grant was written in 2022 or 2023, and it contemplated only electric water taxi.
Yeah.
Since then, the next item you all will be considering is the agreement with Nelson Nygaard for the actual transportation and economic analysis part. They will be using a diesel vessel as the baseline, but they will be including some analysis on what costs look like for electric. The reason why is because King County Metro has indicated their target for going to an electric fleet is being pushed back, especially in the Marine Division, because they don't feel confidence that the existing technology is really there to meet commuting needs. And so we reached out to the Department of Commerce to say, when this was written, it only contemplates an electric vessel. We're now going to look at diesel and electric, and they agreed that that was fine.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Checking up on the screen. No? Oh, all right. Thank you. Questions? Questions only at this point. We'll have a motion in a moment. Okay. No other questions. Then do we have a motion? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz for the motion.
I move to authorize the city manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding with King County Metro Transit Department for studies related to a potential water taxi service between Des Moines and Seattle.
A second. It looks like Councilmember Nutting for the second.
Second.
Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. I'm actually going to support this because I am 100% certain that any fair study will speak for itself. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Oxiger and then Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Yes, I'd like to thank the city manager for bringing this forward. This is the type of due diligence that I think when we don't have any money, this is the type of thing we should be doing to make sure that we are very careful in what we do. So thank you for this, and I will be supporting it.
Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you. I appreciate the presentation. I want to echo those comments. I do think that it's time that we've been considering and putting forward and funding the idea of taxi service here in Des Moines without a comprehensive third-party economic impact analysis. And it's time to do that to make sure that the future goals and expenditures are aligned with a realistic expectation of whether it will serve communities that need more transportation options, or it will be potentially based on a recreation model where people will be paying to come here. And we need that information, the due diligence, the evidence in order to go forward on those plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I'm supporting this. I think this is exactly why we applied for this grant in the first place, is to get that data, and it's an important piece of the plan, or the hope that we can bring a ferry service here. So thank you. I think it's well worth supporting.
Right. Yes, I agree. I think we need this kind of information, and so does the county, because we have said often the only way that we're going to be able to afford to do this is with a partnership with King County Metro. And there's an definite appetite in the council, whether it's both the standing council now and the future council. You know, there's been conversations with all potential candidates moving into that position at the county. And even just yesterday, or this week, I think it was Monday, Councilmember Mosqueda sent me a note. We did advance a request to ask Metro to evaluate what resources we can lend to the Triangle route. Can you send me more information? So, in other words, keep pulling the conversation out. They keep it on the table because they're definitely interested, but they need this information as well. So I appreciate the appetite, I appreciate the interest, and I think that this will help both of us. So, all right. So, any more discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. It looks like it's unanimous, 7-0, great. All right. So the next item we have is a contract with Nelson Nygaard related to the previous item. The purpose of this item is for council to consider a contract and scope of work in regard to the economic analysis of the water taxi pilot program. And again, City Manager Caffrey.
Right, so this is sort of the supplement, right? So now that we've entered into the MOU, this is what we're going to be doing with some of those funds. So this is a contract with Nelson Nygaard in an amount not to exceed $100,000 to complete the economic and transportation analysis components of this. And I'll talk a little more about what they're covering and what a separate contract will cover to sort of collectively do the whole grant requirement. Nelson Nygaard is a nationally recognized transportation firm. They work on all sorts of projects like this, but their Seattle office actually does have a lot of experience specifically with ferry services. So that's really to our benefit, because that's kind of a niche that you don't find everywhere. So they are definitely familiar with sort of operationally how ferry services work, as well as what some of the operational considerations are that you would need to take and think about when you're looking at a service like this. Also, King County Metro has worked with them before, and we'd already selected Nelson Nygaard kind of before we were figuring out this MOU with King County, and they were very pleased that it was this firm because they've had good experiences with them. So the key tasks that they will be doing is, of course, they'll be getting up to speed on everything that's been done in the past, but they'll be doing a market analysis of travel patterns in Des Moines. So that might hit a little bit on what the Deputy Mayor asked me about a moment ago, but they're really going to be focusing on people that use public transportation. What is their demand? They will also be working with stakeholders. The grant, like I said, is very focused on underserved populations, and so they will be doing some real targeted outreach there. And I failed to mention this on the other item, but King County Metro has a much larger staff than ours, and so they have a whole division on community engagement. So they are contributing their kind of staff time and manpower to help us with this. So that's going to be great. And then they'll, of course, be evaluating the prior studies that were done, but they will really be doing their own new study with their own assumptions and data rather than simply relying on the old one, but they'll definitely be looking at that. They will also be performing what's called an alternatives analysis, which compares ferry service with other transit options. And so, like I talked about a moment ago, they'll be looking at factors like what does it cost to operate it, what's the capital requirement, connectivity, and then they'll make some recommendations. We talked a little bit a moment ago, they'll also be looking at sort of the unique aspect of what does it mean to run a commuter ferry service versus what does it mean for tourism or day service. To be transparent, King County Metro, as you can imagine, their goal is commuter service. So if something doesn't really accomplish their goals for that, that doesn't really align with kind of what their work is. But I think it'll still provide valuable information should, we want to look at more of a tourism approach. And then as Councilmember Harris was asking about, the baseline will be diesel-powered vessels, but there will be a supplemental memo about electric vessels. So kind of looking at that. Now, we will be doing a separate agreement with Burke that is under $50,000. I think it's 20-something. So I'll just be executing that. But that's really for the specific economic development analysis, which means figuring out what is the local economy benefit to Des Moines for having a ferry service. That's a different skill set than kind of transportation planners. So we'll be using a firm called Burke who does, again, national economic analysis all across the country, who'll be focusing on that. So our timeline, should the council approve this tonight, is to get started next month with the work done at the end of March. And then we will, of course, be presenting this to you all as the City Council. And then, of course, King County Metro leadership will be presented it as well. I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, the motion is on the screen.
Councilmember Oxiger.
So just for clarification, thank you. Just for clarification, the suggested motion references an economic analysis for the electric water taxi pilot program. Is that simply that you're repeating the title of the Department of Commerce, and everything we've said is understood that it will include the diesel component?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
This can be offline, but could we get a little background on Burke and just, since they've done this kind of work before, like an example of some of their previous work product?
Sure.
Thank you.
I do want to just say I really appreciate the amenable nature of our city manager, but that is the point of the $50,000 cap, is that there are some things that the administration is just able to move forward, but this is then now an assignment, and that's fine. And she is so great with working for and with all of us, but I did want to just make a mention of that. All right, any other questions? All right, do I have a motion? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I move to approve the consulting services contract with Nelson Nygaard in the amount not to exceed $100,000 for the implementation of a Washington Department of Commerce grant for economic analysis of the electric water taxi pilot program, and authorize the city manager to sign the contract substantially in the form as attached.
I have a second. Second, Councilmember Nutting gets the second. Any discussion? All right. You know what? I'm having trouble seeing your arm because it's all, your arm and your sweater is all white. If you could raise your hand a little bit higher, that would be helpful for me to, there's not very many more opportunities, but anyway, go ahead. Councilmember Oxiger.
You're really going to like my comment.
That's all right.
All I want to say is hallelujah. We're doing this right. Hallelujah.
Okay. Great. All right, and I don't see Councilmember Nutting. No question up there? Okay. Motion and discussion. Take it to a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. And it's unanimous. Thank you so much. All right. Moving to item number 6, new agenda items for consideration. I do have a couple of things that I would like to bring forward. They're related to the budget, so it's timely. number one is to consider future salaries for the council to include COLAs that is commensurate with the staff on a yearly basis. So it wouldn't be a salary commission. It wouldn't be a different salary per se. It would just incrementally go up with a COLA year by year, commensurate to the staff. And this kind of thing would be phased in, meaning, let's say the ask is to bring it back as an agenda item, but if it passes, it only passes to the newly elected officials at the next election. And then, so for example, if something is passed before January 1st this year, 4 council members would be eligible to get a COLA next year. And then you would have to wait till the next election for the other 3 council members to be able to receive the same benefit. If you do this without a planning commission. Is the council interested in having that brought back as an agenda item? Do I have 3 nods? Okay, 3 nods. All right. The second one is, which we just talked about, is to consider increasing the city manager's signing threshold. So the last time that it was established was in 2007 at $50,000. That $50,000 in 2007 is equal to $78,000 today. So it might reduce consent items and increase productivity. The city manager, if this was brought back, could include a list of items that would have been affected by this decision for the council perusal. Is this something the council would like to bring back on a future agenda? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Next up is council member reports, and we'll begin with Councilmember Grace Matsui.
I always forget it starts with the pledge. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I did want a couple of things that came to mind while we were conducting business today, and someone had mentioned something about pet licensing. I have just completed all the steps to license one of the dogs, and I did it online, and it was very simple, actually. And in fact, it said, hey, you don't have all the documentation that you need to license your pet in the city of Des Moines, but we'll give you 30 days to come back and upload it, and then we'll send you all of your information. And I was like, that is so nice. And then I had to go to the vet and say, please give me all this information. It took just a few minutes. So as a reminder to folks, pets should be licensed, must be licensed here in the city. We have a new service provider who does that online. You get a cute little branded ID tag that goes with your pet. And I didn't realize this, but when you log in, you can actually alert other members or even the city that your pet is missing. So there's other functionality within that dashboard when you log in that really I think could be an asset to folks who are worried about our pets that need to be licensed here in Des Moines. So I encourage you to go to our website and look up the information about DocuPet and get your pet licensed. I felt like of any of us who have pets here, I hope that at this dais, all of us have gotten a license for our pets. I know there are a ton of events coming up, including I talked about Drag Bingo last time we were here. We have the Halloween happening on Marine View Drive with associated businesses. We have the Halloween walk, trick-or-treat walk. I know other people will expand on those things. This is going to be the first year in quite a while that I actually won't be here for Halloween. I'm very, very sad about it. So I hope that you all have a very safe Halloween, and watch out, drivers, please, for all those young and old kids that will be out on Halloween night. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Nutting has left the meeting to take for the record at 8:33. And so next up is Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. In addition to the Regional Transit Committee, boy howdy, it has been all airport all the time with the mayor, attended a University of Washington meeting with their UW DOHS. Boy, that's a long There's so many acronyms. You know, everything having to do with the airport, you just basically have to get used to all acronyms all the time. I met with Senator Orwell, Congressman Smith, and just all this stuff because the commissioner is getting ready for all this SAMP jazz. And I just want to comment that the challenge is just the reason, you know, we started STNI is just, for me, I get cranky because it's like Groundhog Day. We literally go through the same process every 4 or 5 years, or, you know, and because it's always new people coming in, they confuse research and study with getting something done. And ideally, what you want is it's the difference between being on like a special purpose district commission and the manager, who is the technical expert that is there for 25 years. And the issue is that other than the port, the only continuity is in the city of SeaTac. And that's why they go from strength to strength. And so I hear people talk about things like Second Airport, which is tantamount to saying that you favor ivermectin over getting vaccinated. It's just, I'm through being even pleasant about it. There are just these certain myths that have got to go away. I want to note, because the mayor was there, the city of SeaTac is, in the next couple of months, is going to, there's going to be a transfer of ownership of 213 acres of North SeaTac Park for $0. It'll be a $20 million or whatever it is transaction, but it will come at $0 cost. And I am happy to say that STNI played a small part in that. And it really came down to years of advocacy to change one paragraph in the federal code. And the same land that they will take advantage of is the Des Moines Creek Business Park in Des Moines and NERA in Burien. The only difference, and it has nothing to do with the fact that the airport is in SeaTac or anything, it's just that they worked the issue continuously for many years, and they just go from strength to strength on everything because they have had that continuity of interest in the topic. And it's 20 million, it could have been the same kind of thing here, could have been the same kind of thing in Burien. We chose this. And it's a weird thing. I'm jealous, but I have to applaud them. They're doing a great public good, and I hope we are truly noticing that this is something that we could obtain here. Thank you.
Councilmember Oxger.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Again, I want to reiterate the trick or treat path on the 31st from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. in the Marina District. This is undoubtedly the biggest attendance event we have in the city. It's really fantastic to see both parents and kids out there, and it is always a bit of a tight situation, the fact that we have so much traffic coming through on Marine View Drive, but and everybody goes out of their way to, make sure that the kids are able to cross safely, kids and families. But anyway, yeah, if anybody out there has not seen this, you've got to come down and see it. It is just crazy, and it's great to see the ingenuity of some of these kids, as far as their costumes. It's really something to behold. The other thing I want to address is this week there were speed bumps installed on 10th Avenue and on Beach Drive in Redondo, and they've had substantial effect in reducing traffic. It's a bit early to give a complete assessment as to their effectiveness. We have discovered a few things that could use a little tweaking, but overall the reception is completely positive, and I wanted to pass on the community's appreciation to both the Public Works and the police departments for their working on this matter and trying to solve. I'm coming up on my 50th year in Redondo, and it's been a problem for 50 years. So there's been more movement in the last few years on this than on anything else. So I sincerely appreciate it, and hats off to both Public Works and the Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Mahoney.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to recommend to everybody to go to the YouTube site and type in Des Moines Marina camera. And you can, like me, put it on your TV or at your desk at work. I watch the construction going on and demolition, and I find it fascinating. And I know who the regular dog walkers are as well. The second one, I want to thank the city, the flower pots. You put the winter goods in. I want to say thank you. I think it looks wonderful. A lot of people let those go by, but we've noticed it adds that aesthetic beauty, and we really appreciate it. And I want to say thank you. Again, we'll be in front. Some of us will be in front of the theater giving out candy. Please come by. We always love the event as well. The police and fire typically show up. I'll be lobbying the chief to swing by, and we count how many kids actually show up in fireman costumes and police costumes. Last year, I think the police won, but the previous 3 or 4 was the firemen. Firefighters. Anyway, my apologies on that. And then I just wanted to mention, you'll hear more about this, and we'll put something out, but on November 11th will be Veterans Day event. There'll be some information posted. It's going to be at Stephen J. Underwood. It'll be about from 10:30 to 11:30 or so. And looking forward to folks showing up for that, and hopefully the weather supports it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what I was going to talk about has been covered. Just their community events. Go to the community calendar on the website. Take a look at the city manager's report, the mayor's minute, that just have long calendars of things that are going on right now. There's a lot of stuff going on as we head into the holidays. I also want to share that our dog now has dual citizenship here in Des Moines and in Granite Falls, where my son lives, because it's technically his dog, although the dog spends a lot of time with us because he's a firefighter and an EMT and works 2 jobs, as does his wife, and so they're not home a lot, so we get the dog. It's always good to have a grand puppy. And then compliments again on the flower pots. It really, really perks things up, and it looks great. Thank you very much.
I specifically asked for those. Mike was resistant, so I really appreciate those comments.
Awesome. It's a good thing, Mike. But yeah, but lots of events coming up. Please pay attention to them. Come on out. The trick or treat path is wonderful, and I'll be there in front of the theater and at the council table, handing out candy, and we'll be counting the kids in fire and counting the kids as police. And we'll let you know, Chief. Thanks. Happy Halloween.
Well, yeah. Happy Halloween. A lot of the things I was going to say have already been said, but I'm telling you, I love this community and the way we all reach out to each other, and I've been involved in the last couple of weeks in so many different ways that our community reaches out and supports itself. Galas that are raising funds for domestic violence intervention, young people through Young Life, outreach to the youth of our community, a resource fair that was organized by Tanya up in the Safeway parking lot. People came out from all over the place, all the different resources available to support people in our community. I participated in this thing called Girls on the Run for 3rd to 5th graders up at Des Moines Elementary. They do it in the fall and then also in the spring. And it's not just about getting these young ladies out to run. They teach them about self-control and self-evaluation and self-care and relationship and working through things. It's fantastic. When I look at the different kinds of things that reach into the people of this community, I'm so encouraged. And even from, not just officially from these nonprofits, but there's a woman in the community, Frances Vanderyacht, and she does this little sips and chicks thing and goes to restaurants around town and just invites women to come and sit and chit-chat because community members need each other. I just love when I see all of us reaching out to each other, supporting each other, whether it's officially as a nonprofit or just as people in the community. I appreciate living here, being here, serving here so much. Happy Halloween. So this concludes our meeting for this evening. The next meeting date will be November 6th, 2025, a City Council study session. Please remember to pick up after yourself on your way out. If you don't, I'll pick up all the bags. But Councilmember Grace Matsui, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I move we adjourn.
Got a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, 6-0.